Hi friends, welcome back to our YouTube channel, one and only pharmacy. So friends, in today's video we will see topic classification of crude drugs, subject pharmacognosy, unit number second. So friends, please watch this video till the end. Let's start. How many types of classification of crude drugs? Crude drugs means in simple language it is a simple drug. Crude drugs are plant, animal, or their parts which after collection are subjected only to drying or making them into transverse longitudinal slice pieces or peeling them in some cases. They exist in a natural form. Crude drug means we direct obtain a drug from a plant sources or animal sources or their parts. Crude drugs may be derived from various natural sources like plants, animals, minerals, marine, and microorganisms, etc. Group of crude drugs. There are two groups. First, organized drugs and second, unorganized drugs. The crude drugs are further grouped as organized and unorganized. There is simple difference between organized drugs and unorganized drugs. That means organized means they have a perfect cellular structure and unorganized means they are not a cellular structure or sometimes it's having a cellular structure. Simple language organized means cellular structure, unorganized means non-cellular. According to whether they contain a regularly organized cellular structure or not, are called as unorganized drugs. Second, classification of crude drugs. Although each system of classification has its own merits and demerits, that means there are different systems. Every system is having advantages and disadvantages also. But for the purpose of study, the drugs are classified in the following different ways. This which ways? First, there are seven classifications. First, alphabetical classification. Second, morphological classification. Third, taxonomical classification. Fourth one, pharmacological classification. Fifth, chemical classification. Sixth, chemotaxonomical classification. And seventh, serotaxonomical classification. Alphabeticals means according to alphabets like A, B, C. Morphological means parts of plant, means leaf, root, rhizomes, wood, etc. Taxonomical means their categories. Pharmacological means their activities or actions. Chemical means which chemical constituent they are present according to this size classified. Chemotag chemotaxonomical means chemical and taxonomical mix classification, and seventh one is taxonomic serotaxonomical. Let's see one by one in detail. First, you remember there are seven: alphabetical, morphological, taxonomical, pharmacological, chemical, chemotaxonomical, and serotaxonomical. In exam, mainly ask the type of question like give the alphabetical classification of crude drugs, morphological classification of crude drugs. They are not asking full classification. If asking the full type of classification, there are 10 marks question, but sometimes only 5 marks question asking university like alphabetical, morphological. Let's see one by one in detail. First, alphabetical classification. The crude drugs are arranged according to the alphabetical order from their Latin and English names. I say you according to alphabetical. Some of the pharmacopoeias and reference books which classify crude drugs according to this system are as follows. Which pharmacopoeias they are listed below. Indian Pharmacopoeia IP, that means 1955 Latin, IP 1966 English. IP means Indian Pharmacopoeia. Second, British Pharmacopoeia BP English. United States Pharmacopoeia and National Formulary, that means USP English. British Herbal Pharmacopoeia. British Pharmaceutical Codex. European Pharmacopoeia, Latin titles. Encyclopedia of Common Natural Ingredients used in drugs and cosmetics. These are some official books or reference books and pharmacopoeias. Comes under alphabetical. Example, acacia. Alphabetical means like a ABCD or English or Latin terms. A for acacia, benzoin, cinchonia, dill, ergot, phenol, gentian, hyosamas, ipecacuanha, jalap, curchi, licorice, myrrh, nux vomica, opium, podophyllum, kochia, rauwolfia, senna, unicaria gambier, wasaka, wool fat, yellow beeswax, and Zeodre. These are all the drugs come under the like alphabetical. These drugs also come under another classification, but here we arrange these drugs according to alphabets, means ABCD. You need to only remember 10 to 15 drugs in this classification for exam purpose. Second, what's the advantage of these methods? It is simple method. In this system, location, tracing and addition of drug is easy because of alphabets. This method provides quick reference search of the crude drugs. These are the two advantages of alphabetical classification of crude drugs. Second disadvantage, what's the disadvantage of this classification? Scientific nature of the drug cannot be identified by this method, whether they are organized or unorganized. These are the main disadvantage or drawbacks of these methods. This system does not help in distinguishing the drugs of plant, animal, and mineral source because of original source is not clear. Here is only we mention drugs name like aloe means A for aloe, but we don't say कि it's a plant source or it's an animal source or it's a mineral source or any types of source. We only drugs name. That means these are the two disadvantage of a alphabetical classification of crude drugs. Second, morphological. We say what is morphological means plant parts. Let's see. Here the crude drugs are arranged, grouped according to the part of the plant or animal represented into organized. Organized means cellular structure drugs and unorganized means acellular or non-cellular drugs. Organized cellular drugs are the direct parts of the plant are divided into leaves, bark, wood, roots, rhizomes, seed, fruit, flower, stem, hair, and fibers. Comes under the organized means direct cellular, direct plants. Second, example of organized drug according to plant parts. Let's see examples. Leaves, datura leaves, senna leaves, vasaka leaves, digitalis leaves. In barks, cinnamon barks, cinchona barks, kurchi bark. Wood, quassia, sandalwood. Roots, raulfia, licorice, ipecac. Rhizomes, ginger rhizome, podophyllum, turmeric. Flowers, clove, saffron, pyrethrum. Seeds, nux vomica, lins, isabgol. Fruits, fennel, coriander, dill. Stems, ephedra. Hair and fibers, cotton, hemp, jute. These are the examples of organized drugs come under plant sources. Second, unorganized means acellular. Drugs are the products of plant, animal, and mineral sources like dried latex, dried juice, dried extracts, gums, resins, fixed oils and fats, waxes, volatile oil, animal products, minerals, solids, liquids, semi-solids, etc. That means these drugs are the extracts like extract juices. This not unorganized means does not directly part of the plant or animal. That means stem it's a organized, flower is a organized, wood is a organized, but their oils, resins, gums are the unorganized. This come under the unorganized. Example of unorganized drugs: plant, animal, mineral drugs, dried latex, opium, pepin, dried juice, aloe vera juice, dried extracts, agar, catechu, pectin gum, acacia, tragacan, sterculia, resins, benzoin, colophony, asafoetida, fixed oils, and fats, castor, cholmogra oil, cottonseed, come under the resins, waxes, spermactin, and beeswax come under the waxes, volatile oils, coriander, cinnamon, and clove, animal products, beeswax, shark liver oil, gelatin, mineral, bentonite, kaolin, talc, etc. And these are all the examples of unorganized drugs. What's the advantage of these methods? This systems of classification is more convenient for practical study, especially when the chemical nature of the drug is not clearly understood. This type of classification is very useful in identifying the adulterants use. Disadvantage: It does not give any idea about chemical constituents and therapeutic uses of drug. During collection, drying and packing morphology of the drug changes. They are very difficult to study. These are the advantages and disadvantages. Comes under the morphological classification of crude drugs. Second, chemical classification. Crude drugs are divided into different groups according to the chemical nature of their most important constituent present in the drug, to which the pharmacological therapeutic activity of drug is attributed. According to chemical nature of drug, they are classified. Let's see. Chemical constituents of drugs like alkaloids, datura, vasaka, vinca, lobelia, they are having alkaloid activities or alkaloid chemical constituent present in it. Second, glycosides like cascara, senna, digitalis, tannins, catechu, myrobalan, ashoka, volatile oil, clove, eucalyptus, cinnamon, lipid, castor oil, beeswax, arachish oil. Carbohydrates and derived products like acacia, agar, honey, leans, tragacanth, starch. In resins, colophony. Vitamins and hormones, yeast, shark liver oil, insulin, also hormones, peptide hormones, proteins and enzymes like gelatin, pepin, enzymes come under the chemical classification. Advantage of this method: known chemical constants are easy to study the crude drugs. Popular approach for phytochemical study. These are the advantages. Disadvantage: drugs of different origin are grouped under similar chemical titles. This type of classification makes no proper placement of drugs containing two different types of chemicals. Example: certain drugs are found to contain alkaloids and glycosides, like cinchona. Uh, these are the main disadvantage. If cinchona having property like alkaloids having and glycosides having, but it is the major different task to where the synchronize we produce matlab place in glycosides or in alkaloids. These are the disadvantage. Fixed oils and volatile in nutmeg have an importance together, and hence it is difficult to categorize them properly, where the nutmeg is uh, categorized in volatile oil or in fixed oil, because of uh, both chemical constituents are present in nutmeg. These are the disadvantages of chemical constituents. Fourth one, taxonomical classification. In this system, the drugs are arranged according to taxonomical studies. The drugs are arranged according to their phylum, order, family, genus, and species. It is purely a type of botanical classification or biological classification and restricted mainly to crude drugs from plant sources. Taxonomical means in this type of classification of drugs, we arrange drugs according to their family, phylum, order, genus, and species. Let's see. Example of Nux omica. Strychnus nux omica, it's a biological name. Division Angiosperm. Class Dicotyledon. Order Gentilas. Family Logeniaceae. Genus Strychnus. Species Nux omica. These are the classification of according to Nux omica, according to taxonomical classification of crude drugs. Advantage of these methods: it will provide proper idea about species and varieties of the organism. Yes, of course, it gives a proper idea about its species, phylum. Disadvantage: this system is criticized for its failure to recognize the organized, unorganized nature of crude drugs in their morphological studies. The system fails to face into an account chemical nature of active constituent and therapeutic significance of crude drugs. These are the disadvantages. We can't predict the drugs which are organized or unorganized. Fifth one, pharmacological classification. What is the pharmacological classification? Here, the crude drugs are grouped according to pharmacological action, means therapeutic action of their chief active constituents, more important, or therapeutic uses. That means which drugs give action according to the we are classified, like digitalis. Digitalis having a cardiotonic property. Hence, digitalis we place in a cardiotonic uh, property or class. This system of classification involves the grouping of crude drugs according to the pharmacological action of their active constituents or their therapeutic uses, regardless of their morphology, taxonomical studies, or chemical relationships. The drugs differing in mechanism of action but having same pharmacological effects are also grouped together. Example: bulk purgatives, irritant purgatives, emollient purgatives, etc. These are the taxonomical or pharmacological classification. Like C, cardiac depressant, Syncona veratrum, cardiotonics digitalis, squil, strophanthus, expectorant liquoris, epicona, vasaca, anti-expectorant, stramonium leaves, bronchodilators, ephedra T, theophylline, central analgesics, opium, morphine, CNS stimulants, coffee, caffeine. These are the drugs according to be classified pharmacological. That means their activities or main action. Where coffee is act like a CNS stimulants, etc. Advantage of this type of the special advantage is that if even chemical constituents of the drug are not known, they can be classified properly on the basis of therapeutic or pharmacological effect. Disadvantage: regardless of morphology, taxonomical status, or chemical nature, the drugs are grouped together provided they exhibit similar pharmacological uses. Yes, if we take cardiotonic, there are many types of cardiotonic drugs come under. Example: senna, castor oil, jalap, colicant are grouped together as purgatives, laxative because of their common pharmacological actions. Second, chemotaxonomical means in this type chemical or taxonomical come under investigation of distribution of chemical compounds or group of biosynthetically related compounds in a series of related plants. In this system, equal importance is given for taxonomical status and chemical constituents. There are certain types of chemical constituents which are characteristics of a certain classes of plants. Means equal importance if any drugs having chemical constituents and taxonomical constituents, we put these drugs in a chemical taxonomical classification. The character most often studied in chemotaxonomy are secondary metabolite of pharmaceutical significance such as alkaloids, glycosides, flavonoids, etc., DNA hybridization, amino acid sequencing in proteins. Example: tropine alkaloids generally occur in most of the member of Solanaceae. Another example: oils occur in the member of Umbelliferae. These are the common of the chemotaxonomical classification. And these are the last classification, serotaxonomical. There are in this video we learned mainly seven classification of crude drugs, and last one is the serotaxonomical. Serology is defined as the portion of biology which is concerned with the nature and interactions of antigenic material or antibodies. That means in which like a antigen antibody we studied. Proteins most widely used as an antigen in serotaxonomy are those which carry useful taxonomic information. When foreign cells or particles like antigens are introduced into an organism, antibodies are produced in the blood antiserum. The substance capable of stimulating the formation of an antibody is called antigen, and the highly specific protein molecules produced by plasma cells in the immune system in response to the antigen is called as the antibody. Mainly in serotaxonomy classification, we study like antigen antibody. The classification is based on similar plants by means of differences in the proteins they contain. For example, to know the closeness of the taxon A with B, C, D, E, the proteins from A are extracted and are injected into the experimental animal rabbit or mice. The experimental animal in return produces antibodies. These antibodies are extracted from the blood of the experimental animal in the form of antiserum. When this antiserum is allowed to react with an original protein extract from A, complete coagulation take place. When this antiserum is allowed to react with protein extracts from other taxonomical BCDE, the degree of coagulation varies. The degree of coagulation are compared to know the closeness of the taxa. More the degree of coagulation, more is closeness. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. So friends, in this video we see a classification of crude drugs. There are 7 classification. Let's see once again. Last to first. Last one is a serotaxonomical, in which mainly antigen antibody study we. Sixth one, chemotaxonomical, means any drugs having similar chemical classification and taxonomical classification. Fifth one is according to their more pharmacological, which drugs having some cardiotonics, some laxatives, some purgatives, some CNS depressants, some CNS stimulant, etc. come under pharmacological classification. Fourth one is